Welcome to the Walk in Power podcast, where I believe that confidence is your superpower. I am your host, Carmen B., founder of Healthy Energy Actively Living, also known as HEAL, and creator of the Manifesting Love Journey, a transformational course designed to help ambitious women regain their confidence, find balance, and build healthy habits to achieve optimal wellness, all while building the life they desire and deserve. Because listen, my belief is that no woman should have to choose between her health and success when she deserves both. My mission here is to inspire you to own your power to make wellness a priority while crushing your goals with grace. I'll be inviting some amazing and inspirational guests who will share about their journey to wellness and offer tips for your toolbox. My hope is that every episode leaves you better than you came and you would gracefully share your experience with someone else. If you're ready to prioritize your wellness and build unstoppable confidence to crush your goals, then you're in the right place. And I'm so happy you decided to join me here today. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back, my people, my family. It's been a minute. We are at the tail end of Women's History Month. And I could not let this month end without doing a show to talk about the women who have been a great inspiration to my life, to my journey, all of my journeys, my healing, my transformation, and wanting to give them their flowers. But before I dive in, I want to give a major shout out and flowers to Supreme Court Justice nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson. What a time in history for this to be happening, and then for it to be happening during Women's Month speaks volumes. I had an opportunity to listen in on some of the confirmation hearings over the last week, and boy, was that hard to listen to. I mean, those Republicans were coming for her throat. And there was even one person that stood, it was a lady, and I can't remember her name, forgive me, but that said, she doesn't remember any other nominee being questioned like this, being basically torn apart on the stand. But it also speaks to what we as women, and especially women of color, have to go through to break down barriers and pave the way for the women coming behind us. So again, just shout out to her, kudos to her, and I'm just hoping and praying that everything works in her favor and that she will be the change that we want and need in our society. All right, without further ado, let's dive in. So there have been many women who have contributed to the woman I am today. And being an orphan, because my biological mom died when I was just 1 year old, I had many caregivers, right? There were many women who were responsible for my upbringing. And I want to talk about the three main women that were the closest to me as I was growing into a woman. So the first being my grandmother. Wow, my grandmother taught me so much growing up. And my grandmother, she was the most loving, giving person I've ever known. She was what you would call a true pillar of her community. And not just, the community of family, but wherever we lived, she was the pillar of that community. I remember neighbors could come to her if they didn't have food, if they needed clothes for their kids, if they needed a sitter for their kids. Everybody in the neighborhood came to my grandmother. She would just take care of everyone with no questions asked. And because the neighbors knew that they could rely on her, they would tell other people, like, oh, you need help? Go see Miss Vella. She lives at this address. She will help you. I mean, the amount of strangers that I remember just coming through our home when I was a young girl is unbelievable. But my grandmother is a person who really believed in it takes a village, and she was the village. And she also taught me to be that person. She taught me to be a person to love and take care of others, to pour and give and give and give to others. And, she told me these things like, this is what we do. This is what we do as women. This is how we take care of people. This is how we take care of our community. And sometimes it would upset me watching my grandmother give so much of herself because she never received anything in return, at least not from what I could see, right? When she was in need or she was going through things, there weren't people that she could call on, that she could rely on. She would just make do with what she had. And I don't know if that was a pride thing that she didn't call on people, but she would just make do with what she had. But maybe she received emotionally, maybe she received spiritually. I can't say. Unfortunately, my grandmother passed when I was 15 years old. But she never was bothered by people asking of her. It never seemed to be too much because I'll tell you this. I could see the same people coming over and over and over and over and over again to ask her for money or help with anything. She never said no. Never said no. My grandmother taught me how important it is to give unselfishly, to give without needing something in return. And I know, like, one thing I could say in the world that we live in right now, that is rare. You very rarely see people giving without expecting something in return or without reminding you about what they gave or what they did for you. My grandmother was not that person. She was not that person. And I'll say the same for my Auntie Lubia, who was the other person who had a hand in my upbringing, who gives and gives and gives continuously and always have to her family, to her community. And both are God-fearing women. My grandmother and my Auntie Lubia, God-fearing women, give in the church, and are women who truly believe in taking care of others. While my grandmother died when I was young at the age of 15, and at that time I had a 6-month-old son, and I went to live with my Auntie Lubia, and that was not easy, again, because she was very heavy in the church, and once my grandmother died, her expectation was for me to also be that heavy and committed in the church community, and I rebelled against it. And we had a really hard time when I was growing up, and it got so bad that I ran away. I ran away to go live with the next person I'm going to tell you about. But I ran away, and that was now, that we're able to talk about it. That was a really hard time for her because she gave up her life as a single woman, doing her own thing, living her life. She gave up her life and made a decision to take care of me and my now baby and my brother, and she didn't have to do that. However, me being so young, I couldn't look at it that way. All I could see was this woman is trying to put me in prison and I need out. I need out. However, today we have the most beautiful relationship. We have the most beautiful bond and connection. And this woman still takes care of me Like I was that little girl. She still nurtures the little girl in me. You know, when my dad was really sick a few years ago, about 6 years ago, my dad got really sick and was dying with cancer, and I became his caregiver. And I really didn't have a lot of support. I didn't have a lot of people around me to lend a hand at that time. He was living with me, and I'm still raising my kids. But my auntie would get up in the morning, cook a full meal, and she didn't drive. But whenever on her way to work, the bus would pass my house, and there was a bus stop in front of my house, ironically. And she would call me on the phone and say, Carmen, I made dinner so that you don't have to cook for your dad tonight. There should be enough for a couple of days. I'm packing it up, and I'm glad to get on the bus to go to work. I'm going to press the bell so it stops in front of your house, and I'll let you know when. So you run outside and you grab the food. And she did that. And I never once asked her, Auntie, can you do this for me? But she knew in her heart, she knew what I needed. It was like, it was just words. It was something that was understood without words. She knew what I needed. She knew I was going through a lot. She knew I was really stressed out, and she never asked, what do you need? She just shows up and says, here I am. And if that, I get so emotional thinking about it. If that is not love, I don't know what is. And even right now in my life, I'm going through a challenge, and I've been given some extra responsibility in my life that has kind of like made things a little harder for me, as my schedule has just so much has changed. And here she is, calls me, hey, I'm coming to stay over this weekend. And when she gets here, I'm like, okay, she's older now. I'm like, all right, Auntie, just relax. And she's like, I didn't come here to relax. She cleans my fridge, cleans my stove, which I hate to do. I don't know about y'all. If I have to clean a stove in order to cook in it, I will not be cooking in an oven. I hate, not the stovetop, but the oven. I hate cleaning ovens. When my aunt came over, she said, I'm going to clean this oven, organized all the things that are in my kitchen, just things that I just don't have time to do right now, but definitely needs to be done. I'm doing laundry, and she's like, give me that bag of clothes, folds the laundry. And I'm like, in my heart, I'm like, I don't want her doing these things. Like, she's older. She has served me so long. I want to serve her. I want her to just be in my home and be relaxed. But I also know how much joy it brings her to be able to help me and to be able to support me. And I also don't want to take that away from her. Like, that's her blessing. That's what she believes she is supposed to do. And for me to stop her is for me to be a blessing blocker. But don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I really don't want her doing this. Like, you don't have to fold my clothes, Auntie. It's okay. So I just have to close my eyes and walk away. But I also have to be open to receiving her love and her blessings. But she has always been this person, not just to me, but to everyone. To everyone, she continuously pours out and gives of herself, and always reminding me of what it means to show up for others, right? Like, we could ask others, do you need support? Can I help you? Or we can just go and support people and help people. Because one thing we know, as Black women, we really struggle to ask for help. And it's very unfortunate, but it's the truth. We struggle to let people know that we are suffering, that we are down, that we are sad, that we just need emotional support, mental support. It's so hard to come to that place of vulnerability to ask for what you need. And because we know that, when we have people in our life who are going through really hard times, we can just show up without asking any questions. We could just show up. And that's what she has taught me. But she has also, as I've been thinking and I've been out, like, dating, which, we're going to do a whole nother show on dating, okay? Dating for the enlightened women, my gosh. But when I think about the relationship I have with my aunt, and yeah, this might sound a little crazy, but relationship is relationship, okay? I think about the connection we have, the way she shows up for me, the way she's consistent, the way she's intentional. Like this is what all relationships need in order to thrive and survive. Connection, intention, consistency. She is all of that. And because she is all of that to me, I don't want to do life without her. I don't want to do life without her. Now, when I ran away from my auntie, I went to live with my adopted mom, who's now adopted mom. At that time, she was my big sister, became my big sister through the Big Brother Big Sister Association when I was just 4 years old, and was really a great help to my grandmother in raising me and doing the things for me that my grandmother couldn't do, like going up to the school every time they called because I was misbehaving, or taking me out for fun days, fun activities. She would travel with me. Just all the things that, a little girl needs. She provided, and she's been there by my side since I was 4 years old. And I began calling her mom, one, because I had attachment issues. So any woman that that showed me love was my mommy. But I began calling her mommy. And today, no one couldn't tell us we're not mother and daughter. If you see us together, my mom, Minnie, if you see us, that's mommy. They see me, they know that's Minnie's daughter, right? She raised me. She taught me so much about being a lady, about dressing, about, how I look, how about presenting myself, about taking care of myself, taking care of my body. All of these women just taught me so much. And my mom is another woman who gives and gives and gives and gives. All of the women in my life, these three women have been givers. My mother has been that person in her community where everyone comes to her in the community. Everybody in the family comes to her for support, for guidance. My mom has adopted, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My mom has adopted 6 children, including me, and has 2 biological children of her own. And if that does not speak volumes to who my mom is, and well, all of the children she adopted, none were strangers. They were all family. But my mom said, I will not allow these kids to go into a system when I can care for them. And she took on these great responsibilities to care for all of these children who weren't hers. And I'm going to have to say 7, because when she took me, I had a baby, right? I had a baby. And I was a baby. So she was raising me. She was raising my son. So my mom, to me, is my guardian angel. I do believe that if my mom wasn't in my life, I would have experienced a lot of other heartaches, a lot of other challenges and trauma, on top of what I had already experienced. So these 3 women shaped the way I show up for people. Now, here's a caveat to this, is while their giving, their loving is beautiful, I realize that I want to take bits and pieces of who they are and what they've been. But there's a lot of things that I don't want to leave. I don't want to take. So often when we're talking about being inspired, I want to always point out the importance that we can be inspired by things we love and by things we hate. I love the love in these women. I love the giving nature of these women. What I don't love is how they never choose themselves. I don't love that they will give until they're empty, exhausted, tired, broke, angry, resentful, unappreciated. And so I was able to look at both sides. While they have incredible qualities, they never got to live a life that they were dreaming of. You know, I remember my grandmother always wanted to go back to Honduras, to her country, to just be with her family, be with all of her grandchildren, and build her home and spend time there. And she never was able to do that because she was so busy taking care of other people that she became extremely ill and died from her illnesses. Same thing with my auntie Lubia. She's an incredible cook. And you know, she always talks about, maybe wanting to have a cooking business one day and wanting to do all of these incredible things that she dreams of, wanting to travel the world, wanting to do more in ministry to those in need. But she has given so much of herself that she also developed lifestyle diseases, arthritis and diabetes, and a lot of these things were brought on by the stress and the pain and the frustration she experienced in her giving. And the same thing with my mom. I remember my mom had a mini stroke. And at that time, she was under so much stress because my mom was so busy taking care of everyone else that she neglected her needs. She neglected and didn't listen to her body, didn't listen to what her body was telling her. Take a break, slow down, choose me. And she got sicker and sicker. And these are the things that I say, I don't want that for myself. I want to be able to give to others from a full cup. I want to be able to give to others in a way that doesn't hurt me. I don't believe that giving should result in hurting yourself. I don't believe that loving people should result in hurting yourself. So these women taught me a lot. They taught me the importance of giving, but they also taught me the importance of giving to yourself, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, right? Because if you are only giving and not giving to yourself, you will deplete everything you have. You will deplete your energy. You will deplete your health. Everything will be drained from you until there's nothing left for you. I don't want that for myself. But also, I'm constantly reminding my mom and my auntie, who both tell everybody all she does is boss us around. She thinks that she's our mother. But you know what they say, once a man, twice a child. So I consider them my children now. I take care of them, right? However, one thing I always remind them is be mindful of where you're giving. And if you are giving in spaces that don't give back to you, and not necessarily give back to you in physical form, money or things, right? But does not return love, where joy is not returned, where appreciation is not there, you cannot continue to give in those places, because those are the very places that will take you out. So I want to encourage you to, when you think about the women who inspire you, what are the things you love that you're inspired by? And what are the things you don't love that you are inspired by? Right? Because we want inspiration to always be so beautiful and pretty and rosy and fluffy and smell nice. But it isn't always like that. We have to be realistic when we think about our inspirations and where we're drawing inspiration from. Now I want to talk about 3 women who inspired me that have no idea who I am. The first one is Mary J. Blige. Can I tell you that this woman has been inspiring me since I was a little girl? Me watching her on her videos, watching her swag, watching her moves, just watching how beautiful she was, but how authentic she was and how true to who she was, right? Um, I always, because I was in such a hard place as a little girl, just wanting to be anybody but who I was, I felt like I took on the Mary J. Blige persona as I became, older. I started to really want to dress like Mary, want to sound like Mary, want to move like Mary. I mean, everything about Mary J. Blige intrigued me. But not only that, her story intrigues me. Her story of strength and resiliency, her story of courage and power. If you have not had an opportunity to listen to Mary J. Blige's documentary on Amazon, please do. It is so amazing just hearing her tell her story, and I can feel so many pieces of me that are connected to her, and which is why I love Mary so much. I remember all the music that Mary gave us growing up were things that we could relate to, which is why we blasted Mary. All of her albums, What's the 411, Share My World, Real Love, like those albums like really spoke to what we as women have experienced in our life in love and relationships in our communities. And to this day, like to me, those albums are still top for the things that we as women struggle with and experience. I remember when Mary started healing and started to experience real love, right? Her music changed. The things she sang about being happy, being in love, and people didn't want that. And I ain't gonna tell you no lie. I'm gonna keep it 100. I was like, I need that old thing back, right? But it also speaks to how some people can only love you at the level that they connect with you. So if people can only connect with you from a painful place, then it's going to be hard for them to continue to connect with you when you're healthy and healing. I've experienced that for sure. So one, I just want to say thank you, Mary. Thank you for being amazing. Thank you for being a woman of change. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for inspiring me and so many other women and girls in the world. Like, you're amazing. The other woman is Oprah Winfrey, who I love, who, because of her work and everything she does, really has inspired me to do my work. It really has inspired me to share my story with the world, to be more in the open eye, to coach and encourage other women into healing, into love, into transformation, into greatness. She also had a really hard story of dealing with, rape and molestation, similar to Mary J. Blige also. And that's, my story is healing from rape and molestation. I was able to really connect with these women and really see the power that they developed through their story, but also through just being themselves, not allowing shame and pain to define them and to keep them down and keep them stuck in hard places. So thank you, Oprah. Oprah, I love listening to her Super Soul Sundays on her podcast. And every time I get an opportunity to listen to Oprah speak, it's just a reminder of the work, the work that needs to be done. But also, she recommends the best books. So I definitely am encouraged by all of the tips and information she gives to us as women to begin our healing journey, the encouragement to continue on our healing journey, and to never settle for less. Like to know that if you want it, you can have it. And lastly, Maya Angelou. Can I tell you that before I really knew who Maya Angelou was, she was inspiring me. Before I knew her story, before I knew of her power and her courage, she was inspiring me. The first time I heard her poem, Phenomenal Woman, when I was in high school, oh, it did something to me. Everything, every word she spoke in that poem was the woman I wanted to be, the woman I dreamt of being. And, when I read that poem, I would read it over and over and over again. And I couldn't really share with my friends like how I felt about the poem because they'd probably be like, what? I didn't know how to share my pain as a young woman. I was afraid, I was ashamed of the pain that I had and the experiences I had. But Maya Angelou, as I grew older, got to learn more about her, got to learn about her story. And she also struggled and experienced rape and molestation and what it did to her. And then when she talks about the transformation, the moment she found her voice, when she found her voice, she used it and never stopped. And her voice triggered change. Her books, her writings, everything that Maya touched just turned to gold, right? Turned to gold, turned to diamonds. And all three of these women represent power to me, represent courage to me, represent transformation to me. I'm grateful for all of the women who have poured into my life, for those who know me and those who don't. And I'm looking forward to the women who will pour into my life because this journey doesn't end. The journey of love and striving for more and healing doesn't end because I'll tell you this, healing is like onions, right? You peel back one layer and there's another. There's something else that you need to heal from or that you have to work on, but you have to be willing to show up for it, and I so am. So I want to wrap up this show with this poem that touched my heart, touched my life as a young girl. I want to encourage you to be inspired. And don't only be inspired by the women around you or even the men around you, but remember that you can be an inspiration to yourself. Look back at your life. Look back at what you've come through. Look back at what you've done in the lives of others and be inspired. Be inspired by your own loving. Be inspired by your giving. Be inspired by your power. Be inspired by your courage because you also are a phenomenal woman. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model's size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man, the fellows stand or fall to their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breast, and the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, It ought to make you proud. I say, it's the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Thank you for your time, love, and energy. Until next time, queens, walk in power. Thank you for tuning in to this episode on the Walk in Power podcast. I hope you feel enlightened and inspired to make your wellness a priority, got some tools for your toolbox, and are feeling encouraged to walk in power. Don't forget to subscribe to catch every new episode, and please leave a review along with any topics you would like to hear me share on. If you haven't done so already, head over to my website at www.healwithcarmenb.com to check out the services I have to offer. And while you're visiting, subscribe to my mailing list to receive updates on new episodes and upcoming events. I've also created a Walk in Power Facebook community, and you're invited to join. Here, we can continue these discussions that are shared during our time together. You can stay connected through Instagram at Heal with Carmen B and on Facebook at Healthy Energy Actively Living. Until next time, walk in power. With love, Carmen B.